Good morning. I see we're seeing a number of participants, and thank you for joining in different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're waiting a couple more minutes, but it's a pleasure to welcome you to this year's UGC's annual conference. Again, let me give a couple more minutes for other participants. Well, I think we've reached a stable number now, and I want to again welcome everyone. My name is Arturo Condo. I'm the co-chair of this year's conference. I'm the president of Earth University. I'm here in sunny Costa Rica, in the Caribbean side of the country. I'm also the vice chair of the University Global Coalition Steering Committee. So it's a pleasure to welcome you to this session and to this year's annual conference. This is our fourth gathering. The first one was in 2020, in the beginning of the pandemic. And before that, in 2019, we had an in-person meeting with this particular methodology that we're going to use today. So we are going to use the methodology known as 17 rooms, which I keep my memory from 2019, and I participated also the year before that. But we convened in 2019 universities around the 17 SDGs, and the idea is to bring a diverse group, in our case, including faculty, students, staff from different areas of our universities, to focus on each one of the SDGs. Right? The idea, of course, is that diverse ideas, diverse perspectives, by meeting virtually, will come together. And this year's aspiration is that each group defines 1 to 3 concrete actions that we can take together to the next year. This is a stretch. We're definitely asking for a commitment. We don't think it's too big, but I think if we start learning to work together, we can start making the difference, as we are already doing, of course, in every one of our organizations, but coming together. And so bringing the ideas, but more than that, bringing actions, bringing solutions to the world from universities is definitely an ingredient that we believe is badly needed. Last week or 2 weeks ago in the United Nations General Assembly, Secretary Guterres was very clear that we're not in a good trajectory relative to 2030 and for the Sustainable Development Goals, and we need an urgency that we need to embrace. And so again, this year's conference will be a great opportunity to do that from our institutions, and we'll hear more about this methodology from the inventor of it, John MacArthur from the Brookings Institution. Let me again thank everyone for joining today, but also to the students, staff, faculty from many universities, actually 21 countries, 33 universities to be exact, who will participate in the sessions, will moderate these rooms. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for hosting these important conversations. One thing I want to say is that, out of 45 moderators, 18 are students. This is very, very important. Universities contribute to the goals of the world, to the goals of humanity, of course, through the thinking, of course, through the research, but the power of youth in every one of our universities and organizations in our campus, it's just something that we haven't yet brought to bear. And we think humanity needs it more than ever, with the sense of urgency, again, that I think we share. I also want to thank the UGC Conference Committee, Sally Crimmins from SUNY, Demi Dizu from Northeastern University, Silvia Gallard, Carlos Tercero de Madrid, Luis Gillen from Earth University here at home, Joanna Argusca from UC Davis, who is also the co-chair of the conference committee, and Paula Visconti from Tecnológico de Monterrey. To the wonderful staff at Georgia Tech, Primus Moore, Sam Karanja, and Drew Cartwright, whose project management and technical support have been indispensable. Drew, among those, honestly, is the one keeping the energy going and the things on task. And again, to all of you for being here again this morning, this afternoon, this evening, being here this week, and hopefully never leaving the joint work that we will imagine this week and we'll put into action starting literally next week. Again, this is the University Global Coalition Conference. If you don't know yet what the University Global Coalition means and what's its mission, I want to invite you to look at our website. But the idea is basically to come together as universities, and it would be great if your university, if it's not yet a member, can join, can sign some commitments, and including empowering our students. So we look forward again to working together this week, but more importantly, starting next week, working together for the rest of history, especially for the rest of this decade, as we try to get back on track for the Sustainable Development Goals that we badly need to accomplish. So let me introduce my dear friend John MacArthur. He is at the Brookings Institution, and he again was one of the inventors of the 17 Rooms methodology. He's a senior fellow and director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Brookings. He co-founded and co-chairs the 17 Rooms initiative, as I mentioned. And the idea is that these bring people together to catalyze action for the SDGs, for the Sustainable Development Goals. He, outside of Brookings, he's also a senior advisor to the United Nations Foundation, a member of Policy Horizons, Canada's Deputy Minister Steering Committee, and a member of the Novara ESG Advisory Council. He was previously the Chief Executive Officer of Millennium Promise Alliance, an international non-governmental organization. And prior to that, he served as the Manager and Deputy Director of the UN Millennium Project. Secretary General Kofi Annan's Independent Advisory Board body mandated to recommend an action plan for achieving the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goal. And, a dear friend and a great leader. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome, John.
Thank you so much, Arturo, a dear friend and great leader, and really a pleasure to be with you and everyone today. Thanks also to Drew and the full team and our Angel, who I know we'll hear from soon, but it's so exciting to see so many people coming together from around the world for the type of conversation that I think is so crucial for not just getting the SDGs on track, but getting the world into a place where it needs to be. I want to talk about three quick things today. First is the state of the Sustainable Development Goals. As Arturo just mentioned, we've had a big UN General Assembly week a couple of weeks ago in New York. The world's a bit dour in worrying about the goals and where they are. Then I want to talk a little bit about the state of research and learning for the SDGs, given that this is a university-focused initiative. And then third, I want to talk a little bit about 17 Rooms. So let's start with the state of the Sustainable Development Goals. As Arturo mentioned, and as another mutual friend of ours said, the closer one gets to the UN around the General Assembly, the more pessimistic the vibe is. There's a sense that the Sustainable Development Goals are facing a crisis of relevance, that they're stuck, that they're off track, that they're not getting anywhere. And there are a lot of very important reasons why people are so worried. But I think one has to take a step back as a rigorous, in my case, economist, trying to be rigorous in understanding the facts, but also as a rigorous empiricist, which I know so many people are across this community, trying to figure out what is happening and what needs to happen. Well, if we think about what's happening, there are three basic tests that we can apply to the Sustainable Development Goals. The first is the world in a better place today in 2023 than it was in 2015, when these goals were set and agreed by all 193 UN member states with the vision for 2030. The truth is, and my colleagues Homi Karas and Odero Nietzsche and I are in the middle of writing something up on this. The truth is that most indicators are actually doing better when we look at them, the ones with data, in 2023 than they were in 2015. Global poverty is down. Access to water and sanitation is up. 1 million more children are reaching their 5th birthday every year than they were back in 2015. We have so many improvements in the human condition that are happening around the world that we might even have lost track of how much is going better. At the same time, there are some things that are going worse. We have hunger going up in countries around the world, especially in places that are politically fragile or affected by conflict. And we have a bunch of issues that actually see no progress at all on a global scale, like greenhouse gas emissions, where roughly speaking, we're in a flat line where every year it's going a little bit up, a little bit down, but it's not making the decisive drop that we want to see. So in many issues and on many cases, we see the world doing better today than it was in 2015, even if not on all, and even if that's not good enough. That's a first test, before and after. But there's a second test. How are we doing in compared to business as usual? Is the rate of progress speeding up or slowing down? What we see is that on most issues, since these goals were set in 2015, I would argue it's roughly speaking business as usual persisting. The trends have been continuing. Some cases there has been a slowdown, even where progress is going on. But roughly speaking, there hasn't been much change from business as usual, with a few exceptions like access to oceans area protected has seen a dramatic expansion. Access to antiretrovirals has continued to see acceleration and progress. HIV treatment for HIV/AIDS. But there's a third test, which is actually the formal one set by the SDG targets. Those are the actual goals for 2030. Have we eliminated extreme poverty, hunger? Have we achieved gender equality? Have we got the planet onto a more sustainable path? On those standards, even if we're doing better, and even if we're continuing on business as usual, we're not achieving what we've agreed to achieve. And that third test is the highest test. It's not before and after. It's not faster or slower progress. It's, are we doing what we've agreed to do? Unfortunately, the answer still seems to be no. And the question that I think we all have to ask ourselves is, why? Why are we not doing better on these basic things? And on that case, or on that front, I think we need to be thinking, what does it mean to have a basic goal? We set these goals, ultimately the world, these 193 goals, 193 countries, signing on to these 17 goals, because these goals are an objective measure that all countries agreed of what good enough looks like. It's not about the rate of change. It's not about whether it takes 300 years to achieve gender equality or 100 years to achieve gender equality. Gender equality is something we need to achieve today. It's not about whether we have extreme poverty for another 100 years or 200 years or 40 years. We need to eliminate extreme poverty today. These are the basic issues that we need to understand, because ultimately it does come down to standards of right and wrong for humanity, in my view. There is a normative aspect that we can't lose in our technical debates. In that context, we have to also think about a fourth test that's hidden underneath all this. There are some issues that are tipping point issues. It's not about whether we meet a specific numerical target that some political agreement has established, or whether we're moving in a better direction or not. It's equivalent to, if we're driving a car towards a cliff, doesn't matter how fast we're going, matters whether we fall off the cliff. In that vein, we have to worry about tipping points on problems like climate change, where it's about the cumulative scale of the problem. We have to worry about protecting biodiversity, where it's about tipping points that we still don't even fully understand how quickly we could see catastrophe. It's about the risk of democracies breaking and autocracy taking over in countries that have spent decades or centuries or more building up their democratic institutions. It's about the deep forms of technology breakthrough that might change many of our premises for how societies work without a deeper understanding of why they work. These are big questions that we need to have in mind, and it gets to the importance of what I would call the second big bucket I wanted to just briefly mention, which is the state of research and science on the Sustainable Development Goals. Big picture, we need more. It's why universities are such a crucial piece of this, but I actually think it's one of the great sources of hope around the world. We've seen Nature magazine, the Nature family of journals, arguably the most prestigious family of academic journals in the world, put the Sustainable Development Goals front and center in their editorial strategy. We saw 2 editorials a week for a bunch of weeks leading up to the SDG summit at the midpoint of September, midpoint between 2015 and 2030, and thousands upon thousands of scientists, young or later in stage career, were reading those editorials, getting reference points on what matters, what doesn't. We see Times Higher Education evaluating universities based on how consistent they are with the pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals. We see more and more academic disciplines organizing their thinking around what would it take to achieve these goals that ultimately come down to societal definitions of right and wrong. We see in universities not just the academics, but the young people crucially driving change. Often in my experience, it's the academic, the faculty, who are catching up to the insights of the students that are seeing where things need to change and why things need to change. And ultimately, those forces need to work together in the spirit of intergenerational collaboration. So that brings us to the state of 17 rooms. We have been building, colleagues at the Rockefeller Foundation and Brookings and many, many people around the world, new mechanisms for getting people to come together quickly and hopefully efficiently to share insights, to share perspectives, and to identify possible opportunities for action. We have 3 basic principles guiding 17 rooms. First, every sustainable development goal gets a seat at the table. It's not my goal versus your goal, it's all of our goals together. Second, and this is sometimes harder for academics, it's not a next step. It's not a perfect step we're focusing on, pardon me, it's a next step. How do we prioritize something next to move towards progress in the middle of debating what perfect might look like? And then third, how do we think about having conversations among peers rather than presentations? It's not about lecturing at each other. It's about coming together to share perspectives, to identify what those next steps might look like, even if they're not perfect steps. So it's in that spirit that I'm so inspired by what all of you are doing and what the University Global Coalition is doing in bringing not just universities together, but communities together to think about how groups can identify next steps that can make a difference across all of these sustainable development goals. What I've found in my own conversations with colleagues around the world is that ultimately this doesn't just require insight, it doesn't just require collaboration, it requires leadership from individuals coming together as groups to say, not what does the world need, but what can we do to drive change? So I'm so thankful to all of you for coming together to think about what you can do. But I'm more than anything excited to see how we as a community in the UGC network can think about what each of us can do together and individually to drive next steps to progress. So thank you so much for Arturo. Really a thrill to be with you all. And I look forward to hearing the upshot of these conversations.
Thank you so much. Sorry there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, John. It's so wonderful to see you, and again, wonderful to see your always creative mind in action. Of course, it's our turn to take action, and I want to share, and it's an honor to share with all of you today an example of what that action, especially joint action, can look like. And so at the University Global Coalition, a group of us that started with the University of California, Davis and Earth University started something we're calling the SDG2 Consortium. So SDG2, of course, refers to zero hunger. And we started, working together, getting to know each other. As you pointed out, John, we universities have our own ways, our traditional ways that we need to, of course, embrace, but also kind of evolve so that we can be more effective and more influential. And so again, UC Davis and Earth at the beginning, and now including McGill University, Newcastle University in the UK, and University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, we started working together and identifying different projects that we can do together. And one of those that is particularly close to my heart, it was a SDG2 Zero Hunger International Student Challenge. And the idea was to invite our students from the participating universities to come together, and to propose solutions. And of course, the idea in the end is to start creating the mechanisms and the familiarity so that we can work together. Many of the SDGs, of course, have global implications, but they are by definition global. And these are systemic issues that require not only our thinking, but our action, our collaborative action. And so in many ways, the work these students did together mirrors the goals of a 17 rooms process, in the sense that they were focused on SDG2, discussing what could they do, and again, getting together to do it. Several teams participated, very diverse, and that was really, really nice. In the end, it was 11 teams in the end who completed the challenge. We awarded a first, second, and third prize. And today with us, we have representatives from the winning teams, Davrina Rianda, a PhD student at UC Davis, Marian Talbo, a PhD student at McGill University here, to share with us what the process was like, what were the results, and time permitting, we can take also some Q&A with them and with John. So with this, let me again welcome them and pass it on to Davrina. Welcome, Davrina.
Thank you, Dr. Kondo. So hello, everyone. It's been really an honor to be here. I'm here with Edifan. We're from Group 19, from the International Student Challenge. I'll share my screen. Yeah, so we're very excited to share our ideas that's coming from, like that have been mentioned, collaborative, and the way we come together and proposing this idea. So it's been an exciting journey. So this idea comes from the way we see that nutritional foods or healthy foods are fundamental human rights for all. However, around 350 million people still facing food security, and even more, 3 billion people could not afford healthy diets. And this happened across countries, including Indonesia. And among these people, among these households, there's also various types of malnutrition found. And one of them is also child malnutrition. So Indonesia, for example, the stunting rate, which caused by a chronic form of deficiencies in nutrition, it reaching around 22%. And although the existing effort from the government has been pushing a lot of efforts, putting stunting into one of the national focus. However, these challenges still occur. So we're discussing about this. We had a couple of meetings, Zoom calls, and others for months. And we come up with this idea that we could actually empower the community. we believe that community could act as the catalyst to achieve the improvement, especially in end hunger. So the idea came as End Hunger Community Center, or HSCC. This is the way we empower the community to improve the production, distribution, and consumption of foods by focusing on first local resources and two community connections. So we see that there's already available resources. There's also already strong community platform. So that's the way we see this solution. We're not introducing a new program or new project, but how we could actually empower the existing resources in the community. So HSCC, community to community approach to end hunger. So in terms of target community, we're aiming to targeting the community with case of malnutrition, also community with increasing poverty rate, especially due to COVID-19 pandemic, and also community that has potentials with strong community platform. So we did some research on this, and we found that there's a city in Indonesia named Bogor City. This could be a good place as the pilot project. They have child stunting prevalence reaching 18.9%. There's also increasing poverty rate at the rate of 1% per year from 2019 to 2021. One of them is because of the pandemic, which is heightened the burden, but also they have potentials because the local government has so much focus on nutrition and agriculture, and also they have strong community platform. One of them, for example, is Bogor Ngariong. So we see that the challenges are there, but also but potentials and opportunities are there. So this is the way we connect both of them. So how this idea works is basically is community to community empowerment that putting household as the center, as the heart. So we have three main features to empower the household. First one is through the local food coverage, and the second one is through healthy eating models and home cooks training, and the last one is home gardening empowerment. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about this in the next slide. Maybe Edifan later can jump in, but what we're trying to provide is how to connect and having actually interconnected solution that provide more a holistic approach to end hunger, especially in terms of empowering the community. Yeah, Edifan, do you want to jump in?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, or good night, or good afternoon. I would like to add some comments here because our local food coverage, or LFC, is a local food distribution using food stamps with a personalized approach. Because it covers not only people living below the poverty line, but also at risk of poverty and food insecurity. What is unique because LFC, this project, local food coverage, is that the food provided will be tailored according to the health conditions of the beneficiaries assessed by local health workers. So in the next slide, we can see that moreover, LFC will have several levels of benefits and be integrated with existing government programs, including school lunch. The importance here that our group try to destack that is that all the people of interest in this project are the society, the government, the companies, everyone who wants to defeat the poverty, everyone who wants to defeat the hunger. This is our target, you know.
Yeah, thank you, Edifan. So that's the first core activities of HSCC. And the next activities, which also actually integrated to the first activities, is healthy eating modules. So this is to ensure that we're providing not only foods, but also healthy foods how people not only considering what to eat, but also how to eat, how to cook, and make it them like a healthy meals. And also this healthy eating models will be developed through assessment research on local food culture, ingredients preferences, and health issues. And the other thing is important also instill in the educational scope is we proposing a training to is actually home cooked training. So home cooked training is um, aiming to grow home-based food markets that will be the supplier for the FSC. So we can see that this is the way we empowering community, and they could um, provide to their own for their own needs. So community to community. And the last part of the features of the HSCC is partnership for home gardening. So home gardening is, we see that this is very important because this is the way we could enhance the household access to diverse and more nutrient-rich foods. There are two key values on this activities, which the first one is the way we implement modern farming technology. The second one is circular economy system. So modern farming technology is important because due to the unpredictable weather, because of the climate change, traditional farming is becoming more difficult, including doing home gardening. So what we do here, for example, we are introducing one of them is on farming, um, which could have less space involved and also less water. So it is more environmentally friendly. And the other one is circular economy system. So for example, if we have for the compost, we could use food waste or the leftovers, and also we could also use a plastic bottle and then turning them into a pot that can be used for the home gardening. So we're very excited that this idea coming from a different interest in our group. So yeah, this is what we really excited about. And HSCC, we're hoping that this could help to improve food security, reducing malnutrition, and also productive agriculture. And in a more expanded way, HSC will also support SDG 3, SDG 5, 8, 12, and 13. Lastly, we just want to share our excitement and the way we are really grateful that we could be connected and through these challenges. So it's me, Dafrina, Edifan, and then Efiana, Hafizat, Privilege, Sarah, and Tanaka. So um, this is a very insightful experience, the way we could collaborate and we could um, really connect and how to put each of our expertise or our interest and helping to shape the project more holistic and hopefully more effective to end hunger. Yep, and please feel free to contact us. Me, myself, Dafrina, I'm the point of contact. If anyone interested in this idea, you can contact us through this email. Yeah, so that's it from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina and Edvan. Let me welcome to the stage Miriam Tabo from Baguio University.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you, Devrina. That was really amazing to see what the other teams were working on. I will just also share my screen. And you guys can see it. I assume you can. All right, so hi everyone. So my name is Miriam. I am part of Team 17, who we were working on an initiative to basically connect global NGOs to address the social development, the sustainable development goal number 2. And as I said, I'm part of a team. So we were 5 members of Team 17. Some of us are actually here today. So hi, guys. So there's Monica from University of Veracruz from Mexico. We have Leticia from University of Sao Paulo in Brazil. Anna from Newcastle University in the UK, as well as Cynthia from Earth University in Costa Rica, and myself. So we were quite an international team, and the main challenge, as expected from such international team efforts, were that we were all in different countries, continents, and specifically different time zones, as well as we had different communication styles. So we decided to use technology to facilitate this. So we used WhatsApp to have a group chat, to exchange information on and to discuss what we're going to do for our project on. We used Google Drive to work on our project, and we also used email and Zoom, and we tried to meet at times that worked for all of us, as well as trying to do some asynchronous work. That way we didn't need to worry that much about the time zones. So while using these technologies that really made our communication and sharing the information much, much easier and more convenient, and sort of opened up this idea to look into communication technologies as a way to share knowledge globally between key players, such as NGOs. So we proposed a platform to connect different NGOs globally to share and exchange knowledge on similar projects and initiatives. So we believe that this collaboration and knowledge sharing are crucial for achieving global initiatives like the Sustainable Development Goals. And this open source approach will simplify knowledge sharing. And we were sort of inspired with this open source approach from web developers, for example, and coders who have been doing it for a while, where when someone has a code that works for something that they're working on, they would share it openly, and other coders have access to it. They can tweak it, they can improve it, or they can make it work for them and make it work in their context. So our goal was really to promote this collaboration and this knowledge sharing to work together to achieve a world free of hunger. So this boundaryless knowledge sharing, we believe, will accelerate progress and optimize resource use and also help reduce waste and deepen impact. So as an example, let's say we have an NGO that is developing a certain agricultural or food handling practice that promotes food self-sufficiency in their own community. They can then deposit their idea, their observation, their plan, their protocol for that project, how it worked, their commentary on how to make it better on our proposed platform. And then they will also get compensated a symbolic sum as an incentive, because that is relatively some work that they will be doing as well. And that in exchange of that input will be hosted on this platform that will then be available to other NGOs or community groups who might share similar characteristics as that community, as that initial community or environment. They might have the same climate, they might have the same geographical challenges, they might have the same population. And this will help ensure this continuity of that program that first started. So the first NGO that started with their program will allow the second NGO or the second community group to continue it, improve on it, and will continue improving on those similar interventions. So by making this knowledge easily transferable and accessible, we can not only help promote the sustainable development goals, but we can also help promote adaptable communities and self-sufficient solutions for agricultural and food systems that can effectively help meet our targets. By building together, not only do we save time and energy, but we also save resources and we save money. It is an efficient way to sustainably reach the development goals, to sustainably reach the community goals, and to also do it while being self-efficient. And it also helps in the improvement of similar projects. So we're not all working on the same thing in separate silos, but we're all working together. And in this way, we can help each other, even if we're not in the same time zone. And these goals do not exist alone. So for example, the zero hunger that we were working on for this project, the proposed platform that we're working with right now can also help meet other goals. So these goals are interconnected. So by helping communities across the globe, we can promote the partnership for the goals, but we can also help through the same sort of platform help with also other goals like climate action, for example. So if we have an entity that is working on some type of project that can help reach goal 13, for example, again, they can deposit it on this platform, and then that could allow it to grow outside of just that one community and can help it grow globally and help another community from somewhere else. So to keep it short and sweet, we believe that there is really no shortage in initiatives or motivated parties per se, but what we're proposing is working together and facilitating collaboration to foster boundaryless knowledge sharing and to make this more efficient. By working together, we are much, much more stronger and more efficient than if we're working alone, of course. And our proposed platform connects experiences globally, helps sharing project outcomes and challenges, as well as promotes continuity. So by empowering key players with this knowledge that is needed to increase food production, security, as well as create self-sufficient and resilient agriculture systems, we hope that we'll be able to reach the Sustainable Development Goal number 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam, Davrina, and Edifan. What you're doing, what you're thinking, and what you are going to do is quite inspiring. And of course, and I know I speak for my colleagues at the SDG2 consortium representing universities that you are part of. You make us really proud, because what we all want in the end is not just professional, but this leadership coming from you. And so a big applause and a big a lot of admiration for what you're doing. We have a little time, and I would love to open to participants if they want to pose questions to both the two groups represented here, Davina and Ifan and Miriam. Also John, who I think might still be around. And so we have a Q&A tool in the Zoom platform that you can use. There was a person who, Dr. Sign, who mentioned two things, and we can start there. I think for you, John, about what guidelines could be there for big corporations, and also for governments. We're kind of training for cabinet members, for instance. And the point about corporations looked a lot like ESG type of considerations, right? So that they can be, so the corporations can report what they do to the public. Yeah, and that kind of training for government officials, if you have a word or two to say about that.
Oh, I think it's such a great question. First, I want to just congratulate the presentations out there, phenomenal, and showing the power of the framework, both for the connecting people and connecting issues and connecting concepts. So that's so much of this is about connections. And I would also add that the point of 17 rooms is that so much of the world gets stuck in abstraction. And again, I love universities. I've spent a lot of time in them, but it's very, very common for the universities to lend themselves to abstraction when what they really need to do is figure out how to get people together in rooms or Zooms, think about what they can do together to connect dots. And so I think what we just saw was masterful connection of dots. In a similar spirit, but on a more institutional level, and of course with a different public mandate. Governments are responsible for advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, but generally aren't terribly accountable for advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. And no one is I'm a big fan of democratic elections. It's my personal view. But I think that no government has yet lost an election for failing to follow through on the Sustainable Development Goals. There's a deep question as to why. What are the sources of accountability for governments, whatever the form of government? Often it's the intellectual leaders who are providing the concepts and ideas that govern societies. Universities play a big role in that, not uniquely, but a big role. Often it's the opposition leaders who might be saying, what are you doing and why aren't we making more progress? And often it's actually companies and corporate influences that say, here's an opportunity. We're not just trying to protect our vested interest, but here's an opportunity on a way to do better, and a way to innovate, and an opportunity to grow our market share, to serve a new market, to serve a new population, or to take on a new issue. That's the essence of technology, which is the driver of long-term prosperity in so much. So one of the big challenges we're seeing in the world is that companies need to use their voice in a constructive way. There's a lot of work around how companies sometimes speak out of two sides of their mouth. There's one side which is saying nice things in public. There's another one which is lobbying to get legislation and rules that protect their own interests. A colleague of ours, Alberto Aleman, has been doing a lot of work on this in terms of the need to have consistent practice in what you say and what you do. But there's also a huge movement afoot around how we measure contributions of companies. And this is a debate that I think is going to take 5 to 10 years to sort out. The ESG debate, so-called environmental, social, and governance, has become very politicized, especially out of the United States markets, which are the world's largest capital markets still. And they've become politicized for two reasons. One is because it came about which side of the aisle are you on, but the other is it became obvious that it was very unclear what they were even measuring, these standards. And they weren't measuring something consistent. And so it's been in many ways, I think, a healthy comeuppance of something to move beyond virtue signaling and to say, well, what are you actually doing in your company or in your supply chains? The climate debates and the so-called scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 of emissions is kind of the most specific of these debates. But it's happening around the world now with human rights, human capital. And there's a huge movement afoot to consolidate and integrate not just standards, but even measurement. Much of this is being driven by consolidation in the European Commission, which is going to require, as of next year, a whole new reporting regimen, especially for large companies. But there's something called the International Sustainability Standards Board, which is starting to actually consolidate from this big wave of proliferating conversations into a more coherent global conversation. But the question still is, how do those standards align with the outcomes that we're trying to see in these goals? I say all this as not an easy answer, but more as a problem to be solved. And I do see that this is part of where the community of communities that we have in this UGC effort can play a huge contributing role to think through what are the links in the chain of this problem? How do we need investors to contribute? How do we need governments to contribute? How do we need innovators to contribute? How do we need new business models a young person could create to contribute? We need a lot of these pieces to come together. And I think that that's a new generation's challenge because I'm a believer the private sector can make a huge difference and for good or for bad. So let's set up the incentives so that it's much more for good.
Thank you so much, John, for those thoughts. And there is a question from Karen Over from McGill. Karen is a member of the SDG2 consortium and one, a dear colleague. She asked for both teams. The question is, do you have plans to work further on your projects now that the challenge itself is over? What's the dynamic, once you came together? Because of course our dream is, hopefully to see more collaborative work going forward. What's your thinking? Where are you now?
I guess I can go for. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Darina.
Yeah, so I think one of the most valuable part of joining this challenge is the genuine connection. So, for example, we still have a group chat that where we can converse, have a conversation, genuine conversation, discussing issues and others. But we're excited that we're also contributing to the book chapter that about SDG2 consortium for the upcoming SDG2 book, and we're also joining a video contest to share our idea from the Osaka University. So I think trying to find so we are really excited to want to work the project, but again, it depends on the funding. So that's where the next step would be. So trying to find the funding and trying to pitch and share our ideas as much as possible. And yeah, we're happy to collaborate. So please feel free to contact us if anyone interested.
I guess I'll echo what Davina mentioned. It's pending funding, of course. At the end of the day, we're all students, so we can't really fund the whole platform. But there are existing similar platforms, like I mentioned, for example, earlier coders use GitHub, for example, to share their code. That could be something that could be used that is free of charge. The challenge would be getting the word out, because a platform like this one is only as good if it's used and if people really actually know about it and use it. So I'm not a coder myself. I'm still learning about all of this. So if anyone knows how to make this work, please reach out and we will be happy to chat about it. As I mentioned, as also Davina mentioned, we're still in contact with our team. We still exchange, and we're also participating in the Osaka contest. So hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about how to make this come true, because I really, really do believe that, and the team as well really does believe that it's better to work together than to just duplicate our efforts and not be efficient about it. So hopefully we'll see it coming soon.
Yeah, if I could add some comments, our intention indeed is improve our project, and as we said, all the stakeholders who want to improve this project, all the stakeholders who want to end hunger can contact us, of course, because if there is a company and this company wants to empower some community and help small farmers, okay, let's join our efforts to improve that community, because they have the capacity of end hunger. They just need help. That's it.
So let me ask you again, the three of you, what would you advise for us at the University Global Coalition, the SDG2 consortium in particular, about how to move forward? I mean, to repeat the student competition, to expand it. What after your own experience, what would be your advice to us?
If I can go first, I guess I would recommend maybe either, if you find an idea that you believe in and that could actually help in answering a piece of that puzzle for the goal, then maybe expanding the challenge. If it's just to do the challenge and repeat it every year and get this bank of ideas and just leave them there on the back burner and they're not advancing anywhere, then I feel like we're not sort of shooting ourselves in the foot. We're not really advancing with those ideas. But if there is an idea that could be, according to your expertise, of course, that is viable and could help, then for sure I believe that moving forward with it, that could be the new challenge, how to make this idea work or how to make this project work, and just keep building on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, just little adding to Mariam, because I'm 100% agree about it. If we can be provided access to incubation program, for example, mentorship, that would be very valuable, because during this challenge, we have kind of like one-on-one discussion with experts. That's very valuable for us. So I think incubation program, and also we can have like mentorship post this cultivating this idea, that would really, really helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you. Erifa, would you like to add something?
Yes, I do, because it's as I said, it's important to call all the actors in society, because everyone play a role in this society, and everyone is responsible for something, and I think that universities are very important to producing knowledge, producing data that something is wrong. Also, the government can change any situations, can take any actions to try to reduce our impacts in nature, our impacts in the climate changes, and also the companies, I'll say again, also companies can help us with expertise. For instance, you know, in case of any community needs knowledge from the industry to any technique, you know, and this knowledge produced in the university can join with the expertise of any company who are in the agricultural area, and then improve this community, you know, because of this, the response of the government isn't the only one responsible for reduce hunger, but also the community, the society, me, the university, everyone. That's it.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for the great work. I have to say that I'm inspired also to see how you think systemically and not just, you know, and SDG2. All the SDGs are connected, obviously, but you know, SDG2 is a big one, connects to many things, and it was great to see that in your thinking. So thank you so much for that, for your leadership. Thank you so much, John, for joining us, and supporting the week, these 17 Zooms, as you hinted. And let me then introduce my dear friend Angel Cabrera. He's the president of Georgia Tech, and he's the chairman of the steering committee of the University Global Coalition, a good partner in crime for good things in the past few decades, and a great global leader, you know, originally from Spain, but actually a global citizen, I would argue. Welcome so much, Angel.
Thank you, Arturo, and thank you, John. Oh, I lost John. I was gonna give me 1 second before you go, John, if you have a minute, because I wanna I wanna thank Edivan and Davrina for and Miriam for being part of this dialogue. But I want to thank John for a couple of things. First, I was very impressed to see the actual 17 rooms display inside of the UN compound in New York. Was that you? Was that your thing?
Well, we did a thing with the UN. Yeah, they asked us to come do a session on how 17 rooms can help communities take the goals into their own hands.
But there was a display at the entrance with actual doors and 17 doors. I don't know if you
oh,
yes,
that was the SDG pavilion.
Got it. But anyway, I thank you. I want to thank you, John, and I know you have to run, but I want to thank you because you were at the very beginning of the University Global Coalition. You traveled physically and then virtually the journey with us, and you should be I think proud and delighted with the fact that your work has helped create a movement within our universities, and that, as you can see, we're trying to do our best to support. So thank you. I just want to thank you for all you've done and continue to do for the goals. Thank you. The other thing I want to say is, and I know, John, if you need to go, we totally understand. But I just returned from New York. I visited with Arturo and other university leaders, but I got to go to a few sessions during the summit, the Sustainable Development Summit. And probably the most memorable piece of that was, you know, to be sitting in the General Assembly, in the room of the General Assembly, which is almost like I always feel a little bit, it's almost like a religious experience to be in that room, sort of a cathedral that the world has constructed to bring the world together and to foster conversations and hopefully to solve problems and to help us move forward. So every time I'm in that room, it's a little bit of a significance to what happens there. Even the way you have these sort of old-fashioned earpieces that so that all languages in the world can get translated and we can all communicate with one another. And Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke to us in that context, in that meaningful context. There's an audience of just leaders from all over the world, and he said the goals are in trouble. And he didn't spare words to basically ring the alarm, the fact that the goals are in trouble, that we need to do a revamp. I think he mentioned that only 15% of the targets are on track. So you know, we're not doing well. We was a fantastic effort to bring the leaders from around the world to write those goals, and it's no easy task to agree on what are the set of priorities. So that's and now that we have that framework, we have that agreement, and almost halfway through this process, we're not doing well. The other thing that the Secretary General said is that the only way we're going to make progress in this is by making sure all institutions are at the table, and that includes universities very importantly. I would argue that there is no way we can achieve whether it's the current Sustainable Development Goal framework or any one that may come afterwards, unless universities are fully in institutionally, and not just having champions, which every university has good and proud champions and to make a difference, but institutionally, universities have to be institutionally in, which means that we need to be asking critically what kinds of programs we're offering or we're not offering, and we should be creating, so that every student at least graduates from our universities being fully aware of the goals and inspired to make a difference in some of them, whether it's at the local level or even at the national or global level. That those of us who have important research portfolios, that we ask how our research activities align with the goals, and then also our convening power as institutions, that we use that very intentionally to create this conversation. So I am very grateful to all the partners in the University Global Coalition who have been travel partners with us. We've been supporting each other throughout the way, and we'll, from Georgia Tech perspective, we're fully in, we're committed, and not just committed to the network and to do whatever we can do in terms of collaboration with other universities, but also internally. I mean, the fact that we have this commitment to the SDGs is helping us tremendously align many efforts internally. We just produced our Sustainability Next plan that is fully informed by these efforts. We joined other universities in the creation of a New York Climate Exchange right on Governor's Island off the south part of Manhattan, to really showcase our efforts to a global audience, and the work continues. So I thank all of you. I thank you for also all the speakers who have helped us open our week. Again, to the student leaders for participating in this terrific and inspiring conversation. And we'll see you throughout the week. And for our closing on Friday, our first block of sessions starts in 15 minutes. So we'll take a short break and then we'll get back to work. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.